This video is going to cover the edits for the mastering in Wavelab. So at the end of the digital exam, one needs to do these edits, and also the 4 plugins and the dither plugin as well. So you'll get one of 2 files, either one with a natural ending, as you can see here, the song naturally finishes by itself, or you may be presented with a file where there isn't an ending and you have to put on your own ending, because a lot of songs end with the chorus being repeated, etc., and it doesn't have a specific ending. So I'm going to demonstrate first the song with a natural ending. We need to work on both the beginning and the end of the song. Let's start at the beginning. At the beginning, we need 40 milliseconds of dead silence and up to 5 to 10 milliseconds of a minute little fade in. So let's put in the 40 seconds of dead silence. We need, this red is the cursor. We need to make sure the cursor is at the very, very beginning of the file, and we do that by clicking on this double arrow at the top with the little stripe. That moves the cursor to the very beginning. Next, Control Backspace opens up the silence generator window, and I'm going to make that into 40 milliseconds. Inserted cursor and apply. Now hopefully we've got 40 milliseconds at the front. We want to go and look at that 40 milliseconds and also put in the 10 millisecond fade in. You get the magnifier tool called zoom at the top. Click on that. Click just before the beginning of or just after the beginning of the track. Drag it that way and it opens the track up so we can see our 40 milliseconds. There it is. Get back the cursor, and it's this, the opening of the track, the very opening. We want to avoid the sudden entrance of the audio, so we're going to select 10 or so milliseconds here. You can see this is showing us how much we've selected. There you can see 20, 32, etc. Going back down to 10. There we go. Process, click on Process, Fade in, Linear Fade in. And so this is a much safer way for our track to start. Now we need to get to the end of the track. The safest way to get to the end of the track is to go back to our double arrows at the top, click on them, and now we're at the very, very end. Now that's the end of the file. Where is the end of the audio? Well, you can see if we scrunch the track up a little bit, the audio finishes over there. So I'm going to press Insert to put in a marker so I can be sure to see the audio, to find the end. And I'm going to use the scroll bar here on the side, which does not make it louder, but it gives us a sort of magnification into the track, and you can actually see that there's noise after what we see as the end. But I don't believe we want that noise, because that's not so audible. We want our track to finish here, so I'm going to delete the rest of that space because it's full of noise. And then here I'm going to add, I'm going to add a fade out of about 1 second, because we've got quite a lot of lingering over here. So I'm going to add about a 1 second fade out, Process, Fade out, Linear. And then we need to add another little tiny 10 milliseconds right at the very end to make sure we're going down to 0 and get the very, very tail piece. I'm going to increase the resolution so I can select my 10 milliseconds. There we go. Round about there. That's 12. That's perfect. And fade out again. So I've done 2 fade outs at the very, very end. I'm aware that not everybody teaches, and it's not always necessary for 2 fade outs, but to be extra secure, I tend to do 2. So as we can see, that delete took out our marker, so I'm going to put it back again, press Insert. There's our marker. Now we're going to put on our 3 seconds of dead silence. Control Backspace pulls up the silence generator. There we can see 3 seconds that I've placed earlier, I put in earlier. make sure it says no milliseconds, inserted cursor, apply, and there we can see 3 dead silent seconds at the end of our track. We can double click, and there you can see a perfect 3 seconds of silence. And our track is faded to dead silence by this point 3 seconds before the end of the file. Now, that's one type of file with a natural ending. Let's go to one that's got a sudden ending, in other words, no natural ending. So here, again, we've got to do the beginning, and I'll redo it again for the sake of revision. There you see my red cursor. I'm going to the top to make sure I get it at the very beginning. Double click on the arrows. Once it's at the beginning, control backspace, get the silence generator. Now I need 0 there and 14 milliseconds here on the silence generator. Insert that at cursor and close. Going to the zoom tool, the magnifier, click on that. I'm going to just click a little ahead of it, go backwards, and there you can see it opens up, and I can see that my track starts at 40 milliseconds, and that's a very bad opening of a track, that very sudden start. So this is why we need to put in our 10 milliseconds, which I'm just going to select here manually, and it's 11, that's also fine. Process, fade in, linear, much better opening. Now we need to go to the end of the track. Just put my cursor anywhere, click on the arrows that are pointing towards the right. We're at the very end. Put in a marker so we can remember where the very end is. Now we have no natural fade out, and a song can't just finish like that. So we're going to select at least 15 seconds so we can put in an artificial fade out. So I'm going to select all the way from about 20-ish here, all the way there. I've selected 15.5 seconds. Go to process, fade out, linear. Right, now I need to go into that to put in the 10 millisecond fade. Now I'm aware that this has not always been taught, as it's not on my document, so I'm not going to be very concerned if you don't do the final 10 milliseconds. I like to do an extra 10 milliseconds just in case, because I'm quite perfectionistic with these edits. So there, I'm selected 12 milliseconds. I'm going to fade out to the marker. Now we still need to put our 3 full seconds after that. I'm going to press Control Backspace, and then I'm going to take out the 40 and put in the 3 seconds, apply, close, and there you see we have 3 seconds.